Welcome to Target Market Insights, the multifamily and marketing podcast. Each week, John Kasman interviews multifamily and marketing experts to teach you how to find the best places to invest, attract investors, and grow your portfolio. You are listening to Target Market Insights with your host, John Kasman.
Welcome to Target Market Insights. I'm your host, John Kasman, and I want to thank you for joining us for another great episode. Now, if you're enjoying the podcast, do me a favor. Leave us that 5-star rating and review. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. Now, today we're going to be talking to Dustin Heiner. Dustin is the rental property expert and founder of MasterPassiveIncome.com. Being successfully unemployed at 37 years old by investing in real estate rental properties, he is now on a mission to help everyone quit their job and never have a job again. Now, he also helps his students build successful real estate investing businesses all over the country. Now, through his work at MasterPassiveIncome.com and RentalPassiveIncome.com, Dustin Heiner has become one of the leading real estate rental property experts. Let's welcome to the show, Dustin Heiner.
John, thank you so much for having me. I'm really super excited to be here.
Absolutely, Dustin. Well, listen, I'm excited to talk to you. You have kind of created this platform, Successfully Unemployed, which we'll talk about some more. But before we get into that, I kind of read a little bit of your bio. Why don't you take a minute and fill in some of the gaps about who you are?
Yeah, so I have always been entrepreneurial. And so like you, John, I had my first job when I was 13. I was delivering newspapers. I was a newspaper boy, just delivering newspapers. And from there, had a job my entire life. But at the same time, I realized that I also wanted to be independent. I didn't want to work for somebody else. And I was trying every single which way. I had a graphics website design company. I even had a skateboard manufacturing company. I had a convenience store and a pizzeria. And I also invested in real estate. But what I found, what was the easiest and made me the most money was investing in real estate. That was by far the easiest and made me the most money. But I want to quickly tell you a story of how I really got further and deeper into real estate. So after my wife had our fourth child, we have 4 kids. And once our 4th child was born, I went on paternity leave. I was off for a week. And then after that week, I go back to work and I was a technology working for the local government there where I was living in California. And on a Friday at about 3 p.m., I get a call from my boss's secretary. And she says, "Dustin, would you please come to the boss's office?" And I said, "Okay." And I hang up the phone. I'm like, what in the world could they be calling me back? Call me over there for? What's the deal? And so I started really thinking, well, what could it be? And then I remembered before I left on paternity leave that there had been very small rumors or rumblings that there were possibly layoffs, that there wasn't that much funding anymore for our department. And so I'm getting nervous. So I get up, I start walking down the long hallway. Actually, it wasn't that long. It felt really long, walking down that hallway to finally getting to my boss's office. And as I walked down the hallway, my feet felt like lead bricks as it kept getting harder and harder to walk there because it started to hit me. This might be the time to get laid off. Like, what am I going to do with providing for my kids, my wife, putting a roof over our heads? And so I get to my boss's office and the secretary looks at me and sheepishly, she says, "Dustin, would you please have a seat?" Kind of consoling me almost because she knows what's going to happen. I don't. And I'm waiting there. And as I sit there, I'm looking at her. I'm like, this is it. So my hands start getting clammy. I start to sweat because I realize everything that I've done to this point is all going to be taken away. And am I a failure as a father? Am I a failure as a husband that I can't provide for them? Well, the door finally opens up about a minute or two later of me starting to sweat there. And out walks a lady with a piece of paper in her hand. And she is noticeably distraught, noticeably upset. She's not necessarily crying, but you can tell her world's rocked. And then my boss says, "Dustin, would you please come into my office?" I go in there and lo and behold, I get laid off. I have 2 weeks to find another job. And as I'm walking back to my desk, 2 things hit me. Number one, I need to find another job to take care of my family. That's my number one responsibility right now, is to get another job to take care of my family. But number 2, I need to never, ever let this happen to me again. And so what I decided to do was I got another job. I was really blessed. I said, praise the Lord that I was able to find a job really quickly, had no skip and pay. That was really a huge blessing. But from there, I started telling everybody that no longer when somebody would ask me, well, Dustin, what do you do? I don't give them my value by saying, I work such and such job, or I work here. Well, my value is not my job. And everybody listening to this, I want you to know your value is not your job. Your value is what you give yourself. And so what I started telling everybody was, I'm an investor. I had already bought one property or maybe two properties, but I literally started telling everybody, I am an investor. Now, they might say, well, is that where you make all your money? No, I have a side job, which happens to be almost 100% of my income, but it's a side job. My value is I am an investor. And the more people I told that I was an investor, the bigger my business got, the more people that wanted to invest with me or sell me properties or whatever it might be. And I kid you not, walking home the last day after quitting my job, walking to my car, instead of walking with lead bricks going down the hall, it was like I was walking on clouds, leaving that job because I had enough money. After 9 years of investing, I had about $10,000 coming in every single month, completely blew away my income. Walking home was the best walk home ever. And so now from that point forward, I'm literally, from getting laid off to now, am an investor.
Man, what a powerful story. And I got to say, for those of you who are familiar with my story, you know that there are a lot of parallels. And when you describe this scene of that late Friday night, first of all, you know when your boss's boss calls on a Friday evening when it's almost shutdown time, you know it's not good news, right? So,
exactly.
But understanding that scene, I mean, that was so close to, you know, the experience that we saw. Luckily for us, we didn't get let go, but nonetheless, it sounds like that experience had the same impact on me that yours had on you, which was, I don't ever want to feel like this again. I don't ever want to sit here and hope I'm okay, or now, you know, be frantic about how I'm going to provide for my family. And you said something towards the end, the two things that just were really powerful. First of all, you know, when people ask you, what do you do? Don't equate that or respond with the job. You know, we had a guest on Agostino Pintus, and he talked about going through a downward spiral when he got let go. He was a C-suite executive. He got let go from his job, and he had defined himself so much by that job title that he felt like less of a man. And you said, am I less of a provider for my family? You know, and I think that's a really powerful thing too. And this has nothing to do with investing. It's just simply, I think as people, we equate way too much of ourselves with that. And some of it is subconsciously. You go to, a cocktail party, or you meet somebody's new friends, a new couple, and inevitably one of the first questions they ask is, oh, so what do you do? And I think culturally, we've got to find a way to curtail that, you know, or make it okay to come up with different answers or something. But, you know, having that be an initial thing for you to judge someone, and whether you're actively admitting you're judging or not, you know, if someone tells you they're a garbage man, or, they're a janitor, versus someone telling you they're a physician or a CEO, you're going to feel that's going to direct your conversation a little bit of a different way. So I think that's just a powerful statement about reminding us that we are not our jobs. And when people ask us, what do we do? We're bigger than that. We are more in depth than that. And you're the father of four, which, man, you said 4 kids. Geez, that's a lot of kids. And I saw all the kids in the background. For those of you watching us on video, watching on YouTube right now, or on Facebook video, you can see the picture of his lovely family in the background. But I didn't process that they were all 4 kids. At this point, I just assumed they were like nephews and nieces or something, but 4 kids. So I can imagine how much weight and pressure you felt at that time. Just take me back there for a minute. Let's just dig a little bit deeper. You walk out of that office, you go to the parking lot, you just get let go. What is that feeling like? What is the first thing you do? Do you call home, or what do you do next?
So the first thing that I did was I literally started, because my wife would eventually figure it out. What I needed, yeah, absolutely.
Were you planning on hiding this?
No, absolutely not. I knew she would eventually figure that out, but I knew clock was ticking. I only had 2 weeks because it was a layoff. Clock was ticking. So I literally got on the phone and called up every single other department, every single other business head, and just said, hey, I'm a free agent. I'm on the market. I'm ready to work for you if you're ready. And I was really, really blessed to get picked up by another department that got me at the same seniority, same pay, same everything, because they know how hard of a worker that I am. I mean, shoot, I had businesses and worked my job, and I got raises because my bosses loved me. So with that, the first thing I did is said, my responsibility is to provide for my family. I need to do that. And so I got on the phone. My next job was to find that job. then as I was going home, then I called my wife and said, hey, I got laid off. And so that was it. And now I am, fast forwarding now, because I said my first priority is getting that job. I got a job really quickly. I literally did not have any lapse in pay because I got jumped right over.
No, it's amazing. I think that's great. I mean, that just speaks to your mindset too, right? I mean, you didn't go with the woe is me attitude. You didn't walk around and say, oh, this is some sort of discriminatory process. And I'm not saying that these things don't happen, but what I'm saying is that it doesn't matter, and you figured out what you needed, and what you needed was another job, and you needed that other job immediately. And then once you had that kind of security, at least temporarily, then you can map out a game plan that will put you in a position where you never need another job again, right? So I think that's amazing that you kind of built that up. And then you started talking about, you kind of transition and telling people that you are an investor. At that point, you said you had built a couple of businesses. You talked about, the skateboard company and some other things, but real estate was a thing that, that seemed to stick. It was the easiest and you kind of made the most money into it. What was kind of your real estate investing philosophy? And kind of talk to me about kind of where your portfolio was there. And then, leading up to the time period where you quit for good, how did you kind of build that portfolio up?
So right now I currently live in Phoenix, Arizona, because we had a rental property here and the tenants were moving out and we wanted to move out of California. So now I currently live in Phoenix, Arizona. We love Phoenix, but I grew up my entire life in California, and California prices were really expensive when I first started investing, which was, I think, in 2006. And so
they're still expensive, by the way.
They absolutely are. And as I was looking for properties, I realized I needed to go someplace else. I didn't know what I was doing. I definitely admit that. Now, since then, I've developed a step-by-step system that I walk through every time I go to a new area to invest, build the business and all that sort of stuff. But what I decided was I had very limited funds. We literally, I was working a job where I was making maybe $35,000, $40,000 at most a year. And I said, I just need to start investing because I need to make some extra money. I wanted my wife to stay at home. And quick side note, my wife is fantastic. She has the hard job of homeschooling the kids. So she homeschools her kids. I have the easy job of making money. And that's actually very, very easy compared to homeschooling. So I just got to give her credit for that. She's absolutely amazing. And so with her staying at home, I needed another way to make money. So what I decided to do was, whatever little money that I had, I thought, I could buy a house. Let me just buy a house and put a tenant in there, or try to put a tenant in there. The wrong way to do it. I have a whole nother system or another process to actually do it right. But I went to Ohio. I literally flew to Ohio on a red eye and landed in Cleveland, drove down to, I think it was Youngstown, started investing there. And everything that I'd done then, I would never do again. So literally I invest all over the country, but I don't fly anywhere. I don't even visit. I've bought in states I've never even seen, or I've never been to the state. So my business model is finding single family homes, 2 or 4 units. So anything below the cap of being still conventional loan. I buy those units and those types of properties, rent them out, and try to make at least $250 or more. And here's what I would say my bread and butter is. This is what I tell all my students, and I teach them how to do real estate investing. I coach them in, you want to find 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes that are 1,200 to 1,500 square feet, that have 2-car garage, relatively 2-car garage. But that's a cookie cutter home. That's the home that everybody either wants to rent, or everybody either wants to rent or buy. So you have a big pool. If you want to rent it or sell it, you have plenty of options. And so that's my bread and butter, is building up a business where we have multiple properties. Now I have 30 plus properties that I literally, even though I was making $75,000 a year, I realized I'm losing money here working this job. I better quit and start doing other things that are going to keep making me money. Because remember, our values are not in our job. Our values in ourselves. And I guarantee you, your boss or your organization or whatever it is only paying you enough to keep you working without you quitting, but not too much that it's going to take money out of his or her pocket or the organization's pocket. You are worth so much more than anybody could ever pay you. And I realized that, and I got out, and now I make ridiculously more than I ever did at any job, because my real estate just makes me money. So it's single family homes, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,200 to 1,500 square feet.
So you've got the single family rentals, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, 2-car garages, 1,200 or 1,500 or so square feet is kind of the bread and butter of what you look for. You talked about going to Youngstown primarily due to the affordability. Did you literally just look up cheapest places to live or something like that, and then pick Youngstown and fly? Or what was your process to select Youngstown?
So I was just dying to invest in real estate, and I was looking everywhere from Craigslist and Zillow. I don't even know if it came out by then. It might have. I can't remember if it was out when I started investing, but I was looking everywhere, and I actually found it. I don't know how, but apparently on eBay, you can buy some properties on eBay. And I was looking everywhere, and I just opened up to the entire nation, and I found that in Ohio, somebody was selling a duplex for like $50,000 or $48,000 or something like that. And me being from California, not knowing anything about different markets, I thought $48,000, that's great. Let's go buy that. But after going there, I realized $48,000 was way too much money. Like that was expensive for that area. And so long story short, after going there, after learning the market and realizing that I could buy properties much cheaper, which is what I started doing, it was because I found that one property, and then it got me looking down the rabbit hole of going someplace else. And then in doing that, I developed a process. Like everything wrong that I did, which I probably have done literally everything wrong. I literally wasted probably $30, $40, $50,000 doing things the wrong way instead of doing things the right way. And in doing that, anything bad, I ripped it out of my business model. Everything good, I kept it in my business model because I realized what makes me money. And so I kept that in there. But yes, so it wasn't like the worst place in the world I didn't look for the worst place to invest. I just said, hey, this looks like a good place. Let me start from there, branched out to like Akron, Cleveland, Texas, and Arizona. So I just all over the place. And now my students are literally buying. And what I love what you said, John, in another conversation we had, is the Midwest. I love the Midwest. I live getting down to the Carolinas, down into Florida, some great, great areas of the country to invest.
Yeah, I mean, the Midwest, those areas you just talked about are markets we love as well, for a lot of the same reasons, right? You want to look at, some of the trends that are happening. You want to look at affordability, which I think is really key, not just for the renter, but for ourselves, right? As investors, if you're going to spend $100,000 on a property, you want to make sure that the investment's there and you can get the money back. $100,000 in California probably means you bought a shoebox. But, in Ohio, in certain parts of Ohio, that could be a really nice home. So you definitely want to understand how far your dollar stretches, but then as well, what kind of returns can you expect? As you look at, kind of your criteria, you just talked about Ohio, the Carolinas, the Midwest, Texas, Florida. What are some of the benchmarks that you use to help identify either a market or at least a sub-market to say, hey, this market looks like a place where we want to move forward with?
So I look at a couple of things, but one thing, and I'll push back on you on one point that you talk about a lot, is location, location, location. I, as an investor, don't even care about location, because a big reason why is I'm not going to live there, but other people absolutely will and want to live there. So what I look for is not necessarily against location. I just am location independent. I can go anywhere as long as I get a good return. So the criteria that you're talking about, and I'm definitely not a numbers person. Like I'm not that smart. I know that for a fact. I know a couple things. I know addition, I know subtraction, and a little bit of multiplication. As long as you know those things, if you just went to elementary school, you'd have that. So income minus your expenses, that difference, you subtract that. That is your passive income that you make every single month. Multiplication only comes in, well, if I make $250 from one property, if I get 10 properties, well, multiply 10 times 250, that's $2,500 a month. Wow, let me get more of those. So that's how I run my business. So, but if you talk about certain cities or certain states or what I really like, a big one is cash on cash return. And the reason why is you can spend $500,000 on a house and make $200, or you can spend $50,000 on a house and make $250 a month. And so I would much rather spend less money out of my pocket to have more in return. And that's why I like different areas of the country. So cash on cash return is really, really great. But not only that, because here's my opinion. If anybody would go out and just buy one rental property and say, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna buy a rental property and have it as a rental. I would say that's not the right way to go. In fact, I love buying rental properties from people who did that because they did it wrong and they're like, I'm done with it. I want to get rid of this. I'm like, great, I'll buy it. Give it to me. So here's my suggestion. What you want to do is you want to build the business first. And I'll give you an example of why you want to build the business first. Now, let's say you had a convenience store. A convenience store, there's candy bars, sodas, and all that sort of stuff. Well, you're not going to get a location that is just a building with a door and you put a box of candy bars in there. You're not going to do that because you'd lose money or not even, you'll be out of business. What you're going to do is you're going to get the gondolas, which are the shelving units. You're going to get fountain machines, cold storage, countertops, employees, bank accounts. You're going to build the business first before you put one single piece of inventory into the business. Now, what we do in real estate investing, we build that business first, and every piece of property that we buy is like another candy bar. It's another piece of inventory that we put into our business to help make us money. Now, when I talk about building a business first, if I find a city that has good cash on cash return, like I just said, has a good amount of 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom homes, like I just talked to you about, the cookie cutter, bread and butter type homes. If I find that they have a good amount of those that are available for me to purchase, make a good return on, before I buy any properties. Actually, I'll give you one thing that I say to a lot of my coaching students. A lot of my coaching students get so excited. Oh, I found this area. Oh, look at this property. Look at this property. Look at this property. And I tell them, sadly, you're probably not going to buy any one of those properties because they might be off the market by the time you're ready to buy it, because I'm not going to let you buy those, because we have to build the business. Because I've literally flown to areas and found that there were great properties, but I could not find a good property manager. And they're like your quarterback. If you don't have a good property manager, your quarterback is going to make you lose the game. So you want a good property manager. So I've literally walked away from cities or entire areas, even though it looked good, because I could not find a good property manager. So what we want to do is we want to build the business. Once we find a good cash on cash return, find great properties inside that area that we can continue to get more pieces of inventory and put them into our business. Once we do that, after we know this is the city we want to invest in, that is when we interview at least 5 or 6 property managers to make sure we whittle it down to finding the very best one, and then a backup, and maybe a third. Like, you kind of give them a ranking of which one, then go with the first one. And then we start building, we start finding contractors, realtors, roofers, plumbers, all that sort of stuff. But here's the great thing. The property manager does most of the work. I literally work 30 minutes a month on all my 30 plus properties because I don't do anything. Everybody else does that work. I just spend my time traveling the world, doing whatever I want. I'll give you an example really quick. 2017, as soon as I quit my job, our aspiration was to travel to Japan. I took my wife, my 4 kids, and my dad to Japan. We traveled for 6 weeks around the entire island of Japan, 1,500 miles driving on the left-hand side of the road around the entire country. Then in 2018, we went to Europe. 6 weeks on an 11 different country trip all around Europe. And this last year, we flew to Florida and drove from Florida all the way up to New York City, sightseeing, family field trip for 4-week trip. It was amazing. So because of my business, I literally don't work. Everybody else does the work for me. So build the business first. Then once you do that, then you start putting that inventory into the business.
Listen, you just hit on some powerful things about building the business first. And the candy store example is so obvious, right? I mean, it makes a ton of sense that you're not going to open up your door and start selling merchandise and just having this stuff land on the floor and no cash registers and things like that, right? And I think the similar mindset when it comes to apartment investing or single family rental investing, real estate in general, you have to understand what you need in your business to pull it off. Your quote on the property manager is spot on. I mean, one of the biggest things that people need to identify, you need your boots on the ground. And that property manager is really the key component because they are the main person who's going to interface with your resident. They're going to be the main lead for any other vendors that you need, contractors or roofers or anyone else. And you really need someone who is an extension of you that you can trust, that you can kind of build with, and helps you navigate the submarkets, the streets. Hey, you don't want this house because it's not going to appeal to the wider, base of residents because it's not in the school district. Just go a couple streets over and do that. You want someone who can help you with the local market knowledge that you may not have, especially when you're coming from the other side of the country. So I think that's really important. And then the other piece that you hit on was really towards the end, you talked about the business side of it. And by building a business, as the CEO of the business, you don't have to physically be there every day, especially with this business. When you build a real estate business, you can live wherever you want to live and you can invest where it makes sense to invest. And I think that's what you did. You still are out there in Phoenix, but even if you still lived in California, you could invest in Ohio and Florida and Texas and these different markets. So that's the other great advantage that real estate has as opposed to some other investment vehicles is you can live wherever you are, identify where it makes sense for you to invest and build a team that allows you to go to market and build a real business there. So great tips and great strategy there. I want to talk a little bit more about successfully unemployed. You've gone from being scared or actually getting let go of your job, finding something else, making it a priority to say, I'm not going to let this happen to me again, to focusing on building your real estate portfolio. And now you're really helping other people with the knowledge and the insights and the tools that they need to be successfully unemployed. Tell me, why was this such an important thing for you to build?
I think it's because I am so blessed to, I literally wake up in the morning, drink my coffee, then hang out with the family, go to the gym. I don't do, I come home, eat lunch, I just hang out and maybe do a podcast interview or two, or I just had so much extra time because my money comes in through real estate. And I realized I'm blessed. So number one, I started Master Passive Income to teach that. But then at the same time, I saw a need that everybody, in my opinion, should try to not have a job. That's the just over broke. That's what job means. JOB is just over broke. And we want to try to get out of that. But not everybody is built or wants to do real estate. And there's so many other ways to actually quit that JOB, that just over broke job. There's so many other ways. In fact, just yesterday, I interviewed a lady who has a bridal store. Like, her ambition was to have a bridal store. Now it's doing really, really well. I interviewed a taco truck guy. I've interviewed people that make money online. I've interviewed real estate people like yourself, John. And so it's a great way to give as much knowledge as possible to as many people as possible in any single way that they can quit their job. Because that's the ultimate goal, is to, number one, help people. And I said this before, the more people that I help in whatever is their problem, if I solve that problem, the better I do in general, like money wise, but also I just feel so much better when I'm giving back, when I'm serving. And so I guess all those things combined is Successfully Unemployed, the podcast. And I have it also on YouTube as well, where I interview great people, and they literally teach the process of how they become successfully unemployed. So anybody listening, hope they're going to grab that and say, I like that one. I want to go after that, because it might not be real estate investing. It might be something else. It might be syndication like you, John. And so that's exactly the reason why Successfully Unemployed is around.
Yeah. And just to recap your story, just for illustration purposes, right? So for you, walk us through kind of the key things that you think were so important in what you did to be successfully unemployed, that you also see other folks, other guests that you speak to, having similarities in their story.
So a big one, I would say 80% of the people that I interview, it's that they found passive income. It's where you work one time and you get paid over and over again. That could be writing a best-selling song, it could be writing a book, it could be having a blog or a podcast where you work one time and it continually works. So that's 80%. The other 20% are people that they have their own business, where, like I said, the bridal store or the taco truck, or somebody that's writing copy for another bunch of people. Like they're continually working to basically be financially independent. Now, what I found is, out of all of them, they did not let any roadblocks stop them. Because you can talk about lots of things, from perseverance to determination to not just motivation. Motivation will get you out of bed, but what gets you getting out of bed every single day is the discipline to get past that and work through it. And so getting past those roadblocks. So I'd say 100% of the people, they saw the fear that would well up inside them. They would take the courage, or have the courage, build up the courage to get past that fear. From that passing of the fear, the determination and the discipline to move forward every single day, because it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be glamorous at any time as you're building it up, because it's going to be hard. But eventually it's going to get to where the snowball effect is going to be working, to where now your life is fantastic. Now you can do whatever you want. Now, the biggest thing that I could say is literally just have as much perseverance as you can, as well as be as disciplined to make the next step. Keep moving. Even though roadblocks are going to come, keep moving, get past that fear and just keep moving.
I think the key to your point is, like, see them as roadblocks. I think too often you face that obstacle and it just seems so significant that it's nothing you can do about it. And the reality is, it's just an obstacle. It's a temporary thing. You can ask yourself, is this going to be relevant a month from now, a year from now, 10 years from now? And if you can find a way to work around it, then it makes it a little bit easier to stomach. And I like to ask myself one question whenever I'm faced with these really tough decisions, and it's, what will I regret? Because I can live with making a mistake or having something not go my way, but if I look back 10, 20, 30 years from now and regret not trying or regret not sticking to it, that to me is the key thing that keeps me focused and pushes me to stick with it or stay the course or, pivot, quite frankly, if I need to pivot and say, you know what, yeah, this day job has been great and it's been very comforting, but I would regret not giving my all to this other opportunity or seeing if I could build the kind of life that I dream of or that my family deserves. And I think those are the kind of ways that you kind of transition because it takes a shift. You have to break away from kind of the normal cultural mindset where there's comfort in working a W-2 job. My father worked at, basically blue collar job for, 30 some years, going on 40 some years now. And that's what he knew. I mean, I told him I was quitting my job and he almost had a heart attack. He's like, what are you doing? And that's twice now I've done that to him. So, I know that there's a lot of pressure, but sticking to it is kind of the key takeaway. Stick to it. Whatever obstacles that you're facing, see them as temporary. If they're bigger obstacles, then find a way around it. As an entrepreneur, you have to be, a problem solver. You have to be resilient. You have to find ways to make it work. I want to go back, Dustin, our conversation. We talked about you focusing on the real estate and that being kind of out of all the things you were doing, one of the easier ways for you to grow and continue to build. Were you working with investors at that time or did you start working with investors or was this kind of all of your own capital investing into these deals?
So to initially start, it was all my own capital. And I was not raised to save money. It's just a bummer. That's just how it was. And I'm changing that with my kids. They're literally taught to save money. 50% of their income gets saved or any money that they make. So I'm teaching that. But my wife, she was taught to save. So she had about $10,000 to $12,000 when we first got married. And right after that, like 3 months after, hey, I want to start investing in real estate. She's like, what? Anyways, that's a whole nother long story. But we started scrimping and saving and trying to cut expenses. So we had enough money to invest. So I took $17,000, all of the money that we had. And remember, I wasn't making that much money when we got married, $17,000 to buy that first property. And getting that first property, I got like a $350 check after that first month. I said, what? How do I get more of these? And so I just tried to, number one, saved every penny that came in. But number two, I thought, okay, let me refinance or let me borrow money. Let me borrow money from my dad, which is what I did. I also literally borrowed from a credit card. And it's an advanced strategy, I'll tell you. But great story was I literally got one of those credit card things where they say, hey, you cash out refinance. And it didn't say like, for 1 year, you get this interest rate that's ridiculously low. It was for the life of the balance. I said, that's a cheap mortgage. I'm using that. And so I pulled out all that money. I think it was like maybe 0.5% was the interest. So it was no brainer. So, but I never really, I'm not the type that let's go out and try to find other people to start investing with me, which now I am as I've grown, as I do start doing syndication and things like that. I have so many people that want to invest with me that I'm like, yeah, come on, let's help each other out. But I was so closed off, like I'm going to do it myself, not for the sake of like, I'm fearful that somebody would take over. I was like, just so determined that I don't need anybody else. Long story short, it wasn't the right way to go, in my opinion. It's the better way to go is to network, to get other people, to see how you can collaborate, how you can work together. Because I'll tell you, so Master Passive Income was where I teach and I show people how to invest in real estate and how to do rental property specifically. That business was going so slow and not really doing much until I started networking with other people. Once I started networking with other people, business started doing so much better because I started helping more people. Same thing in real estate investing. The more people that you can help bring into your deals with you, the better you'll do, the better they'll do, and the better everybody will do. So I should have done that. But that's something that I look back now and I would definitely recommend everybody do is to start looking to see how you can start working with other people.
Yeah, I mean, I think to your point, like you talked about working with other people, helping other people, that being a great way to network. You don't have to come into it saying, hey, I'm looking for investors. I want someone to invest with me. But if you can help other people, that at least opens up the doors and possibilities to what can come in the future. And before we kind of transition to our bullseye round, we talked about the skateboard business and a bunch of other stuff. Not necessarily financially, but out of every other business that you were doing, what was the most fun for you?
Oh, wow. The most fun. I would say, because I'm a people person, I just love talking with people. I love being around people. And so even though it was a headache, so the convenience store that I had, it was a headache with having employees, managing inventory. We didn't make that much money. I eventually sold it, so I was really blessed to sell it. I had my job. I was still working, and my goal was to have employees and just manage it and just, let them run it. In the end, it was better built for an owner operator. So somebody bought it and they worked and then they made money. But that was really fun because working and talking with people as they came in the door, whenever I went in to do work, I would talk to my customers, and people just, they're just fun to talk to. So that was more fun for me. But I will say, I will never, ever have a retail establishment again. It's so much work and so much headache. But what I found was, for me, it was talking to people, working with people. And that's why Master Passive Income is great. Successfully Unemployed, the podcast and everything there is great because I get to meet so many great people. All that to say, I satisfied that urge, that itch to talk to people and get to know people with that. So no more retail, all online and everything else like that.
All right, Dustin, you ready for our bullseye round?
Let's do it.
What is the book you've recommended or gifted the most in the last year?
I would recommend it's probably one of my favorite books. It is The Richest Man in Babylon. And I love that book because it's a fictional book, but it gives so many great principles. Now, here's one interesting thing. More than likely, anybody listening to this podcast, this and watching this online, you're going to remember a little bit of what I said, but you're probably going to remember most about my story, about me losing my job and what it did to me, and then eventually how I broke out of it. That's probably what you're going to remember the most because it's a story. It's a story that drives home a principle is so good because it helps to lock that in. Richest Man in Babylon, written by George S. Clausen, is fantastic because there's so many principles in there that helps you to realize how you can be wealthy, not just rich, but wealthy as well, and teaching you in story form. Literally, all those lessons are stuck in my brain because it's such a well-written story, but it helps us as we want to become wealthy.
Give me a digital or mobile resource you recommend for your business.
So for my business, because I invest in real estate, there's a couple things, but I'll give you the first one. I love email. That's an easy one. Email is like my love language. So anytime I get something in, I have to reply and all that sort of stuff. But for real estate investing, there's basically one that I really, really love. It's called Cozy, COZY.co. That's the company. I use them to all the properties that I manage myself, which is very few, but I do have some that I manage myself because I know them so well and have great tenants. I just don't need to pay a property manager. I have all of them go through Cozy. Cozy is literally collecting to taking care of maintenance, to screening, to listing, and all that sort of stuff. And so Cozy is great. I absolutely love Cozy. It's an online, it goes through your phone, but you also have your app, it's a website you can go to as well, but everything runs through there, and my tenants love it. That's the thing is, I want my tenants to have no problems with paying their rent, and this does it.
How has a failure or apparent failure set you up for later success?
So I think the failure for me was going in the wrong direction, building my life in a wrong direction. And the wrong direction was going for a career, working at someplace else. So that failure, when I realized I just got laid off at a local government. You're not supposed to ever get laid off from the government or fired from the government. That's like a lifelong job. Well, I did. And so I realized that failure was me basically putting my ladder on the wrong building. I should have been building it over here with passive income, investing in real estate. And once I found that out, I said, no more. I'm ever going to be over here. I'm going to be over here from now on.
What is a daily habit that helps you stay focused on your goals?
I say, well, I'm going to say that I might have a little bit of a edge on some people, maybe not as much as others, but I'm just a driven person. Like for some reason in my brain, I always have something that I know I need to do. It's just inherent inside me. I can't stop it. It's almost a problem. But another thing that I do is, because I'm successfully unemployed, I don't need a job. I literally don't have to do anything for Master Passive Income or Successfully Unemployed or anything else. That's just fun. I have my real estate to make money. But what I do, because I have so much time to stay focused, is I make myself do at least one thing every day that is not just like fearful, but it's something that's an accomplishment. Like get at least one thing done, maybe putting out another article, putting out another podcast, but just doing one thing every single day to make yourself move to that next step. Like basically it's like picking that foot up to go to the next step as you're walking. Just keep taking one step forward.
What's one thing you know now that you wish you knew when you were starting out?
How to do it right, I guess. Because like I said, I've lost $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 doing real estate rental properties the wrong way. If I would have learned that if I spent a little bit of money on coaching, if I would have spent a little bit of money on a course, and I will say this, that when I first got started, I spent $1,000 and went to a 2-day seminar, which was a joke. I didn't say it was a joke. It was such a high level overview of everything. You couldn't do anything with it. And then after that, they said, now give us $40,000 to learn how to invest in rental properties. Like, what? If I had $40,000, I'm not going to give it to you. I'm just going to learn from my own mistakes. Long story short, if there was a way to spend, I don't know, $2,000 or $3,000 to get education, to do it right, it would have saved me $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. And imagine this, if you went to college, how much money did you spend on college to get a piece of paper to hopefully get a job? Might as well spend $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 to have somebody who's done it before, who has a passion like John that wants to help, have him help you, and then you are working on his coattails, basically all the success, all the failures, walk you through the process. I'll give you a quick example. One of my students was buying a property. I helped him to negotiate the price down. He saved like $3,000 on the price as we negotiated. And then he got an inspection, came back, the inspection, it needed a new roof. I said, you know what? You don't got to pay for that all yourself. Go back to the seller. He was just going to accept and move on. I said, go to the seller and say, I need you to help pay for this. So he got them to come down another $3,000 with using the exact words that I said. So I saved him $6,000 in that one transaction. He's like, man, that paid for all your coaching and everything. It's great. So yes, absolutely get coaching.
Listen, just to echo that point, I mean, I think some folks, there's a balance because we talk about the ineffectiveness of some of the coaching that's out there, right? Where you spend $1,000 to attend a seminar and they tell you, oh, if you really want the goods and the templates and everything, you got to spend another $30,000 or $40,000 or $50,000. And you don't want to do those things. But I do think that you have to look at it and say, okay, if I have this person in my corner that can walk me through the process, that can educate me on the steps and help me negotiate when it comes time for negotiating or putting in an offer, what is that worth? And if that's $3,000, $5,000, $10,000, that's something that you should seriously consider, because if you're going to spend that kind of money and the mistake that you could make is way above that cost, how can you afford not to hire somebody like that to navigate it? To your point, you go to college, you get a degree, you spend your money to hang up a piece of paper that just tells the world that you did that. It doesn't tell them you're smart or anything else. It just tells them that you took the time to finish college to go get a job. So you definitely want to make sure that you evaluate those opportunities and invest in yourself. More importantly, make sure you are investing in yourself. And if that means attending events or hiring a mentor or joining a team in a capacity that allows you to grow and nurture yourself, definitely make sure you're looking up for and looking into those kind of opportunities. All right, Dustin, what are you curious about right now?
I'm curious about how to help more people. And so I really started Successfully Unemployed, the podcast, to help other people. But I'm realizing I'm learning a ton because I'm approaching every single interview that I do in Successfully Unemployed as if I know nothing. And I just ask questions. So the person I'm interviewing, like I had John, I had you on the show. And so I acted like I had no clue, at least the best I could, no clue about anything. Like, how do I do it? And in that, there's so many great things. And so everybody that I'm interviewing, I'm realizing there's so much I don't know. And I'm not prideful to say that I'm so arrogant I know everything, and that this is great. So I'm so curious about how people run their business, because as they run their business, it helps me to say, I could put that in my business. So yes, I absolutely am curious about how other people do their business.
No, I love that. All right, give me the best place to grab a bite in Phoenix.
Oh man, I love there. If I'm going to go to one place, actually, I'll give you one, or I'll give you two of them. My wife, she loves Mexican food, and Phoenix absolutely has fantastic Mexican food. They're all over the place. She loves Top Shelf, and I think they have a couple different locations. Top Shelf is a great Mexican food place. But now if I were to pick one place, it wouldn't be Mexican food. I'm not a Mexican food person, but I would probably pick a pizza joint. And there's a pizza joint that's right around the corner. What was the name of it? Oh man, I'm blanking on the name of the pizza place. My wife knows it. She's the one that orders it. But it's a local place here just in Phoenix. So I apologize. Maybe I'll get you the notes afterwards. But I love pizza. Pizza's a great thing. And in general, Phoenix has a lot of amazing food. So that's a great reason why to come here.
Well, definitely keep that in mind the next time we're out there, and definitely shoot me the pizza place. I'll make sure we put in the show notes at least. All right, Dustin, you gave us a lot of great information, right? We talked a lot about your story, and I love the storytelling aspect of it. And you kind of hinted towards the point that by using stories, that's a great way for people to remember, the key takeaways. And, just like the book, Richest Man in Babylon, that, this is a great way to connect. And I think that's a great way to make sure we're communicating through storytelling. We've done a couple podcast episodes on that fact as well. But you gave a lot of great information about your story, kind of how you make that transition to say, you know what, I'm never going to be in this position again. I'm going to be successfully unemployed. The way you built up your portfolio to do that, the things you learned from hopping on that plane, going to Youngstown, buying something, and then, making sure that you took a better approach going forward and got better with your systems and your processes. I think that's something we can all learn from. For our listeners who really enjoyed your talk today and want to learn more about you, maybe check out Successfully Unemployed, what is the best way for them to get in touch?
So I have two podcasts you can definitely listen to. One is Successfully Unemployed. The Successfully Unemployed show, you should be able to find that everywhere. Master Passive Income, that's where I talk only about rental properties and investing in real estate, that's most of me teaching. But masterpassiveincome.com and successfullyunemployed.co. Not .com. Don't go there because somebody else, he wouldn't sell me. It's basically a junk site, but he won't sell it to me. But successfullyunemployed.co, both of those ways. But hey, would you mind if I gave everybody a free course to get started investing in single family homes?
That'd be great.
Awesome. If you go to masterpassiveincome.com/free course, I'll give you my free course that's going to show you how to find areas of the country, how to run the numbers, how to make sure you do it right, even the questions to ask property managers and the answers to those questions. I have it on there, masterpassiveincome.com/free course.
That's awesome. And I appreciate the free resource there. So make sure you check that out if you are interested in learning about single family rentals. I'm sure a lot of it actually applies to multifamily as well. So it sounds like you definitely want to check that out. Dustin, this has been a lot of fun. I really appreciate you coming on, taking some time to share some of your insights. And we look forward to staying in touch with you. Take care, Dustin.
Thank you, John.